Carl Jung said, "Awaken and shine your light for others to follow. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This is an invitation to move differently in the world, to operate from a place of deep knowing and alignment. I'm Adrienne McDonald, and welcome to the Source Code Podcast. Let's dive in. Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome back, or welcome if it's your first time. Grab your favorite beverage, and let's see what the muse has for us. Today I want to talk about doing the work. Now, I am quite sure you have heard that phrase. I don't know how anyone could escape it if you've been in therapy or the personal development industry or around it. And what does it really mean? Now, I've used that phrase a lot myself. So today I want to talk about how I view it, but probably more importantly, I want to talk about something that I don't hear talked about enough, which is the pitfalls, or perhaps the other side of it, when you have a hyper focus on doing the work, and I'm using air quotes there. Okay, so first, what is doing the work? Now, how I look at this, it's a term often used in personal development and spiritual circles, and it refers to the process of engaging in self-reflection and healing and personal growth. And it could involve therapy or meditation or journaling or shadow work or a wide range of different other practices that are aimed at uncovering and addressing underlying issues or traumas or limiting beliefs. And the purpose of doing the work is to facilitate personal growth and transformation by addressing and healing emotional wounds, emotional intelligence, cultivating resilience, cultivating curiosity. Because when you engage in self-reflection and healing practices, you can look at your behavioral patterns that no longer serve you, and this helps you develop healthier relationships and create a more meaningful life. And generally, one expects to align with your best self and unlock your potential, and in that lead a more empowered existence. Okay? And that's all very true and very great. And that is a very 50,000-foot view of it. And we also know that the work is ongoing. So I want to break down the work into like three different buckets. So there's therapy, there's personal development, and there's spirituality. And they're very interconnected, and they all serve different purposes in my head. And they all address different aspects of an individual's growth and well-being. That's how I see it. Now, therapy focuses mostly on your mental health and your emotional well-being, and it's about addressing psychological issues such as trauma and anxiety and depression and possibly relationship problems. And the goal is to gain insights into that, develop coping strategies, heal from past wounds and trauma, and foster a much more healthy and balanced mental state, that emotional resilience. And I've often said that therapy gave me great coping skills. Personal development's focus is generally on self-improvement and achieving one's full potential. That's generally what you see in the personal development language. And this encompasses building different skills, and there's usually goal setting. It's around enhancing self-awareness in a different way, developing different habits. There's techniques like coaching and self-help books and workshop and retreats and courses. And I personally love to use the Gene Keys in human design because it's a very bespoke experience. Like, it has information that's specifically about you. And the aim is to really enhance your ability and your natural gifts and overall life satisfaction. And I feel like you understand yourself in a very different way when the focus is personal development. And then you have spirituality. And spirituality involves exploring your connection to something greater than you, which could be a higher power, the universe, a deeper sense of purpose, and there's many different spiritual practices, meditation, prayer, rituals. I study Celtic shamanism, studying different spiritual texts. The focus is on achieving that inner peace and that connectedness to something that's outside of yourself. It helps you understand your place in the world, and it helps with keeping you living in alignment with your values and beliefs. It can help you determine what those values and beliefs are. So in essence, therapy heals the mind, personal development sort of builds the self, and spirituality nurtures the soul. So that's a very holistic approach to well-being. So that's why I break it down that way. And while doing the work is really crucial for personal and spiritual growth, there's themes of like a excess hyper-focus for some people. And I have been guilty of this. And that sometimes can hinder progress. Because, if you're having that constant introspection and you're doing all this self-analysis, it's like a little wheel that you get stuck on. And because you're in that loop of endlessly seeking to fix perceived flaws. And generally you're not giving enough time and recognition to appreciate any work that you've already done. It also prevents you from fully integrating that work and can lead to analysis paralysis, where you have fears of not being enough, healed enough. And when you feel that way, that can prevent you from taking action in the present to get where you want to go, right? You may be on that loop in the past, or you may be future tripping too much. If you've got that hyper focus on the inner work, it can be very distracting from the importance of taking that external action and engaging with the world in the present. And that's also very vital because that's where the integration shows up. The integration shows up in present time, not in the doing, but in the being. So you got to balance that self-reflection with the practical action. And you got to take the time to acknowledge your progress because that helps, maintain the momentum of your journey. And you got to stop chasing ghosts. Hyper-focusing on doing the work in therapy, personal development, spirituality, let's look at each one of those buckets and how it could show up as maybe a hindrance more than a help. And again, I think we all go through these cycles, but if we break them down, you might have the awareness to go, you know what, I need to take a step back here. Like in therapy, there's the increased use of therapeutic terms like PTSD or clinical depression, especially under younger people, instead of using the simpler expressions like I'm sad, it really is reflecting there's a cultural shift going on. And it's a little bit concerning around medicalizing and I'm gonna screw this word up. Not everything is a pathology. And when we pathologicalize, I can't say that word, emotional experiences, like always giving them a clinical label. Like, I'm not sad, I have PTSD. I didn't get distracted, I have ADHD. That's not helping. I mean, it's good to, if you have a chronic issue, if you go and get it evaluated by a professional, that can be extremely helpful. But constantly delving into psychological issues and over-identifying with them, like over-identifying with problems, over-identifying with traumas, it really reinforces a victim mentality rather than fostering resilience. It keeps you on the drama triangle, right? So, and I've known people that they continuously go to a therapist, and they don't seem to be able to, there's no resilience being cultivated within themselves. And the whole purpose of therapy is to give you, the individual, the coping strategies that you can work with independently and not create a dependency on a therapist. If you are going to a therapist that you keep going back to, but you can't make a decision yourself, then you probably need to switch therapists, because much like everything else out there, there are some great, amazing therapists. I've had some, and then I've also had some that I didn't get much out of as well, right? So you really need to, like, what is your goal, and are you getting out of it what you need, right? And when you're focusing excessively on past traumas and issues, that can also distract you from living in the present and enjoying the current experiences and relationships. And again, a good therapist is going to redirect you there, but that's, again, one of those things of you just need to have awareness around it. Now, in personal development bucket, see a lot of the hustle, the perfectionism, an intense focus on continuous, like, must improve. And sometimes it's a little unrealistic expectations, and that causes frustration and burnout. And I think, and this is, again, another reason why I like human design, is because not every strategy works for everyone. You got to find what works for you, right? And if you're in that constant chase of enhancing your skills and setting and meeting higher and higher goals, that sometimes people can get hyper-focused on that, and then the rest of their life sort of falls away. And I've seen this particular one a lot in masterminds, is that pursuit of personal development can sometimes create a constant, sense of I'm never going to get there, right? Especially when we start playing that comparison game. Oh, those people are on stage. I'm not. I suck. Oh, that person had, $1 million a year, and I'm still scraping by, I suck, that type of thing. It gets that never feeling enough, which I always tell people that make sure that the environment and the masterminds and the coaching programs that you're in are fostering I'm not saying that friendly competition can't be beneficial, but no one should be put into a situation where that they're just, it doesn't matter what they do, they're never going to be enough. It's that filling the void type of feeling. But I also think that that's where the third bucket comes in, right? The spirituality. Because done right, there's a lot more resilience there. You have the interconnectedness of all things. You're connected to something outside of yourself. On the flip side, I'm sure you've heard the term spiritual bypassing, using spirituality to avoid facing unresolved emotional issues or practical problems, and therefore bypassing necessarily healing and growth. It's the love and light for everything crowd, right? Also, in some forms of spiritual practices, when you go all into them, they can lead to people feeling very isolated from everyday social interactions and responsibilities. It's like distancing themselves from reality almost. And in some practices, people can get a little judgy. A little sense of spiritual superiority. Well, since I'm doing all this spiritual work, then I'm, higher up my awareness chain than you are, which is also not true. So I think balancing therapy, personal development, and spirituality with practical, real world engagement and self-compassion, that's where your focus should be. Taking those breaks. Observing, am I integrating this? And I'm going to wrap up with a story that caused me to do this episode, because I think it's something that most of us can relate to. I was listening to some podcast, and I think it was Emma Dunwoody that might have been guesting somewhere. And she talked about the fact that she had done all these things around moving money blocks, courses and healers, and I think she said psychics, like everything. And people kept telling her that she didn't have any money blocks. They didn't see anything that needed to be removed. And at some point, she realized that she really didn't have any money blocks. She just needed to be more of who she really was. And Emma's huge in the human design world, so she ended up saying that she just really needed to live her design. And I thought that was such a great story, because this week I've been looking over the past 11 years, because this is my 11th year of being out of corporate. And I've done a lot of those same types of things. Now, I've definitely had massive transformation over the last 7 years, especially if you've known me prior, when I was in corporate. But I've also chased a lot of ghosts. And I think that that's the pitfall, one of the biggest pitfalls is this next thing is going to be the thing. And when you hold that in your mind long enough, that can be your hyperfocus, and that can be a big block to your progress. And I think that it's not that we don't have blocks. The blocks certainly exist, but if you've got a consistent problem and you think you've done all the things, you've done the work, so to speak, and you still have the problem, then maybe your problem is the fact that you're hyper-focused on the problem, right? So over the next week or so, give some thought to where you think or believe you have a consistent challenge, or where you use the word block. Because that's what I did. I was like, here's where I'm using the word block. Anything that you've been wrestling with for a while. And consider, do you really have a block? Are you just not operating how you're designed to operate? Are you hyper-focusing on, quote, doing the work instead of allowing integration time? Or instead of just being you? So I hope you found this insightful. I'd love to hear what you think about this episode on social media. I tend to be on Facebook, Instagram more than anywhere else. As always, I thank you for listening. If you would like to go deeper into your human design and gene keys, I have a link in the show notes where you can schedule a reading with me. And remember to find beauty every day and seek out the magic in the mundane. Thank you for listening to the Source Code Podcast. If you found this episode insightful and feel moved to, please leave a review and share it out with those you believe will find it helpful. You can check out my website for more information at www.adrianmcdonald.com. And for more of my more regular musings, connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn. I hope you have a beautiful week.